I was shocked when he did that. The look that he had in his eyes was like I was staring at a totally different person, like if I was staring at a monster. It was so hard for him to get him to, come back to reality. And I was literally like, he's gonna hurt me. So I remember like telling him, Ivan, please don't kill me. Please don't do this. The kids are sleeping. You cannot do this. The kids are gonna wake up. You cannot kill me in front of the kids. You cannot kill me because what's gonna happen with the kids? Begging him for my life. My name is Melanie Gonzalez, and this is how I survived being stabbed 37 times by my husband. I grew up in Humboldt Park, Chicago. I met my husband like 9 years ago through my best friend who was a sister. It was about 2 months that I caved in because he was very like he would come spend the night. Me and his sister were roommates. He would come spend the night every weekend, him and all his other brothers. And they would come and spend the night. He would like bother me. He would like, try to watch Netflix with me. And finally one night I was like, fine. So what made me like him was he was so sweet in the beginning. So me and his sister always been best friends. Even we were roommates when me and her brother got together. He ended up moving in with us. And then we kind of just, eventually grew apart and we got our own place. She stayed there with her significant other. And even to this day, we're very close. We just limit on what we talk about, but we're very close. And, it wasn't until like we moved in together that things started to like, shake up a little bit and get a little bit. And then I started to see like, how he was when he was angry and how he would talk to me. So I remember the first big argument that we got into was because his ex-girlfriend at the time, she kept calling him and the ex-mother-in-law kept calling him. And I just remember telling him that I was tired of them calling. And it just went from like 0 to 100. He pulled over, he grabbed the phone, threw it, made this big old scene. And I just was like, oh my God. I was like, take me home. And he tried to like, do the whole, I'm sorry, I was just mad because the whole situation got me frustrated. I continued the relationship with him because I don't want to say I felt bad, but I felt like he never really got the love. So maybe if I love him, then I can get him, to be a better person. So when we moved in together, that's when I noticed like the pattern of him snapping and then acting like he was sorry and me being like, okay, just one step at a time, we could work through this together, He busted the windshield out of my car. He punched the mirror and the glass flew in my eye and I got stitches, he kicked my rearview mirror, like little things. And then I always took him back because he always came with them puppy eyes, like, you're all I have. I was spending the night at his mom's house and he actually was the first time that he put his hands on me. He put me like in a chokehold and like body slammed me. His mom woke up and she tried to separate it. And that was the first time that he actually like, put his hands on me. He ended up showing up to my mom's house and was like, with the puppy dog eyes, please. And that's when he told me that he was suffering from bipolar disorder. I can't give up on him because he had bipolar. I have to try to help him. I took him back. We got an apartment, I want to say the following week or two. It started with a car. He busted my windshield. Then it went from that to him. We're at his mother's house and he kicks in my rearview mirror because he's upset and he's trying to tackle me to the floor, to him punching the mirror in the bathroom of our home and the glass shooting and hitting me in the eye. I got 3 stitches. What was hard for me was because his mom was always like, just give him time, she would always pull the guilt trip on me, like, he's going through a lot, just let him breathe and then come back and then start talking. We got married in 2017. Things were not like they were going up and down. And then I think he knew I was kind of getting fed up, and then he asked me to marry him. He wants to marry me, and I let him know, like, okay, if we get married, things are going to be different. We got married. in a church. We did the whole reception. It was a beautiful wedding. And then I found out I was pregnant a month before the wedding. So I did not enjoy it at all. It was a beautiful wedding. I danced. I could not drink. I could not do anything. So I was like a little upset. And then we moved to a different house and I noticed a change. I found out that I was 3 months pregnant. We just got married. He cheated on me. So then that's when I emotionally was like, I don't want to do it anymore. I've always said it, and it's going to sound horrible. We can argue, we can fight, but he never cheated on me. And then boom, he cheated on me. Here he comes with his puppy dog eyes and, you know, his, I can't do this, I can't live without you, I want to be a father to my kids, I want to see them grow up. Being a child who didn't grow up with both her parents, that's the one thing I want for my kids is both parents. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, I'm changing him, he's changing, we're having a baby, we just got married, he messed up, but we're gonna work through it, we're gonna try to make it work because he made such improvements that we can't just end it now. And we moved to Florida and COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I want to say that was the worst time of my life because he picked at me and picked at me and picked at me. And I would literally be in the bathroom crying. During COVID time is when he started accusing me of moving to Florida to be with like another man. And mind you, we're locked down. We're always together all the time, together 24/7. Like I wasn't working, he wasn't working. It was so bad. And then I got a job. So that kind of kept us separated, you know, and it kind of like things started dying down. I want to say I was there for about a year at that location. And then we decided to move to Port Richey. My mom and my dad, they live in Tampa. And my mom's the type of person, if she don't hear from me in a couple of days, she'll pop up at the house. So little did I know that the real reason for us moving to Port Richey was because it's about an hour away and she can't just pop up when she don't hear from me. I decided to go back into management. I got the job of my dreams. Love that job. Oh my God, the job of my dreams. And I started realizing my self-worth. I'm better than this. I deserve better than this. I have a career of my dreams. I have 3 beautiful children, the house of my dreams, and there's only one thing that's holding me back. He destroyed everything on Christmas, and when I called the police on him, they told me that there was nothing they can do. One layer that made him mad was when I called the law to get divorced, and the attorney told me that we were never legally married and that the pastor never sent us the paperwork. I remember being like the biggest weight off my shoulders. So Mother's Day, we got into an argument and I told him, you know what? I'm done. I have no fight in me. And he's like, you're done? Then I won't come back from Chicago. I'll stay over there. I'll take all my stuff to Chicago and I will never come back and see you and the kids. And normally I would be like, you can't do that to the kids. And I would fight him so hard because I wanted him to be a part of my kid's life. And that day I said, okay. And that was the first time he shut up and walked away from me. The next day, I woke up like nothing, 5:30 in the morning, getting ready for work, doing my daily routine, put my stuff in the car, came back inside, filled my water jug. I noticed my daughter was awake. I knew something was off. And I remember passing by my daughter's room and seeing him sitting there, shaking. And I remember the way his foot was hanging off the bed, shaking. This isn't gonna end well, like something is gonna happen. And I remember the night before I told my mom, I can't wait for him to leave because either he's gonna kill me or I'm gonna kill him. And at that, like passing by the room, seeing him shake like that, it was like paranoid. because he was too quiet, and the way he was shaking gave me the rush of anxiety. Like I literally was like, I just gotta go to work. I remember my daughter woke up and was like, Mommy, like in her like half asleep, like Mommy. And I'm like, it's okay, go back to sleep, and like patting her to go back to sleep. And then when I seen her like, knocking out, I told him, hey, Malia's waking up. I don't know if she's up or she's not up. Can you check on her? So he gets up, he checks on her. But I remember like getting this uneasy feeling like I didn't want to go by him. So I remember asking him, like, hey, you're going to Chicago tomorrow. I know you were going to take the kids with you to my mom's house because she's going to take you to the airport in the morning. But can you wait until, like, I get out of work so I can say goodnight to them? So I don't have to drive all the way to Tampa to say goodnight. And then you could just leave tonight. And he was like, no, I'm not going to make anything easy for you. I was like, okay. And he was like, I hate you, right? And then he was like, I effing hate you so much. Calm, the way he said it. Angry, with such like rage in his eyes. I effing hate you so much. And I said, you know what? I gotta get to work and I don't have time for you to be acting petty. And I remember grabbing my water bottle and walking. I have to pass him now. He's standing there. And I remember walking and I remember him taking one step close to me, like when I was almost a turn. And I remember seeing his fist. I remember seeing him pull his hand all the way back and punching me in my nose. At that time, I didn't know that he stabbed me in my face. I just thought he punched me. So I'm like, oh my God, there's so much blood. But the first thing that came to my head was like, you broke my nose, dude. Like, are you kidding me right now? I have to go to work and you just broke my nose. So I remember running to the sink and I'm like, you broke my nose. Are you freaking psycho? What is wrong with you? But I'm not paying attention to the amount of blood that I've lost. I just remember trying to clean my face. And then he came up behind me and was like punching me in my back. And so I'm trying to clean my face and he's grabbing me and punching me in my back. And that's when I was like, okay, we're gonna fight. Until I turned around. When I turned around, I seen the knife. And I looked down and I seen all the blood. And I looked to the side and I seen all the blood. And that's where like my fight or flight instincts came in. And I grabbed him by his wrist and I pushed him into the fridge and I ran. But when you wear business attire and you have the shoes that you have on, as soon as I passed the blood, I slipped and I fell. Boom. I crawled to the door. I'm crawling to the door and he's just hitting me in my back. I get the door open. I grab the handle to the door and I open the door, right? And I go to scream and he slams the door and drags me back. And at this time, I'm like in and out. Like, I'm like looking on the floor, like, Melanie, get up. Like, if you don't get up, I remember like staring at the floor, like all this, but I'm like, you're gonna die. And I got up and I grabbed his hands and I remember we're fighting and I'm like this and like this, and he stabs me like across right here, trying to just get away and defend myself, but I don't want to leave my kids. So like now I'm tugging and warring with him, trying to figure out, okay, how can I grab the kids? How can I run away? I can't leave the kids because what if he turns to the kids? So I'm gonna have to kill him. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm just like, my son gets out the room. And I remember him stopping and I turned around and my son had him in like his arm around his shoulder, his other arm under his armpit, and pulled him with all his strength from the hallway all the way to almost to the living room. And that's when my mommy instincts kicked in. I'm like, no. So I run up to him, I grab his wrist, and I'm trying to take the knife off his hand, and that's how I cut my finger right here. Because I'm trying to take the knife off his hand. And I tell my son, Andre, please, stop. Please. So then my son goes to run out. I hear my son come back in, and then I hear my daughters. I'm falling and getting back up. I'm falling and getting back up. I tell my son, Andre, lock your sisters in the room and go get help. I'm trying to get away. I'm trying to run to the back door, the screen. I can't open the glass screen. He's grabbing me and pulling me. I get to the patio. He grabs me. He drags me back in the house. He throws me on the floor. And then I fall on the floor. And I remember I'm on my arms, face down. And I'm trying to get up. And he comes around with a knife and stabs me across my face. I instantly am like, that's it. I'm freaking dead. And I told him, that's it. You win, I'm dead. And he grabs his fist right here and he punches me like 3 times in the eye. And then he stops stabbing me. I don't know where he got this stick from. He starts beating me with a stick in the back of my head and my back. I keep getting back up, but I can't get up anymore. And then I hear toot, 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 my door, the keypad. And the door opens. And then I hear my son. And I hear my neighbor. I got up so fast. I ran to the back. I'm fighting to get out of the screen door. He comes. He grabs me by my shirt. And I'm telling him, I don't have any more fight in me, just let me go. He kind of switched back and he's like, crap. The neighbor came in. The neighbor saw. The neighbor went screaming to his wife, call the police. So now he's freaking out. He can't find his car keys. So he's searching through my pockets for my keys. He dragged me all over the house so that I can find the keys. And I'm trying to explain to him, I can't see. I'm not scared. I'm not sad. I'm not anything. I'm dead. Like in my mind, I'm like, I'm dead. He starts freaking out because I'm telling him I can't see. He lets me go. I run to the back and my son's on the opposite side of the screen door and he's trying to, open it. And that's when he looks up and he actually looks at me. And he stops and he, and I told him, don't look at me, Andre. Open the door. I took my sweater off. I wrapped it around my head and I tied it tight. And I told him, push the door. And that's when I start feeling weak now. So I'm like trying to push the door. He opens the door. I tell him, Andre, grab your sisters. He runs into the room, he grabs the sisters, and I said, I'm going to use the last bit of my strength, and we're going to run. So he grabs his sisters, and I use my last bit of strength, and we're running from the back through the left side of the house to the front, and I see my neighbor. And it was just like, I saw Jesus, like I could take a deep breath because I knew like my kids were going to be saved. So he's like, go into the house. And I told him, no, put the kids in the house. I'll sit in front of your house. I didn't want to bring blood in his house. And I didn't want to scare my kids any more than they were already scared. I sat in front of his house. And he sat right there with me. He's on the phone with the police. I could hear my husband getting into the car and driving off. The ambulance came, and I remember the ambulance driver was arguing with the police officer because they didn't call in a trauma, but the police officer was like, we thought it was just a domestic dispute. And I remember looking at the ambulance guy and I'm like, I'm gonna die, right? And he's like, you're not gonna die. And I told him, tell me the truth. I'm gonna die. And he's like, you're not gonna die. We're gonna help you. We're gonna make sure you don't die. And I looked at my neighbor and I said, make sure my mom gets my kids. Because I'm gonna die. And it's like that feeling of like, you're gonna die. Like, that is the worst feeling in the world because then everything flashes before your eyes. I got my mom, I got my dad, I got my brothers, I got my sisters, I got my kids. My kids, what's gonna happen to my kids? Who's gonna take my kids? And I walked, and the whole time I'm in surgery, my stepmom is talking with the DCF people. And that's when they tell my stepmom, that they're taking my kids away, and that I failed my kids because I knew I was in a domestic violence situation, and I knew I was going to get stabbed 37 times, and I knew that I could just get up and leave, and I knew all the resources that there was out there in the state of Florida. Mind you, I've only been here 3 years, so they're going to take the kids away. I remember being so angry, and I remember getting out the hospital, and being so afraid. And I remember the first night I was home, I was so scared. It was raining, and my mom and her husband were like, "Oh, we're gonna go get some food," but I was just so tired that I didn't want to go with them. And then they left, and I had so much anxiety because my brain was like not registering that it was rain. It was like telling me like that's him trying to get into the window. I believe that it takes a tribe to move further. And I've always been the type of person that I've always been alone. I've never liked to tell people my business, and I never liked to really be around people. And if, my best friend understood that I wasn't an easy friend, but she still loved me. And when my best friend came to make me breakfast, my cousins came from Orlando, my mom, and they wouldn't leave me alone. As much as I wanted to be alone, they were like, "No, we are here." And the day that I got my kids back, when I moved into the new house, was the best day of my life. So I can't sit up here and hate the world and hate life because why did he let him take my eye? And why do I have no hair right here? I can't be upset at anything because I'm still alive and I'm still with my kids. And there's life after domestic violence. There's life after trauma. You just have to learn how to live it.